There it goes. Hey guys, we are here with the Writing in the Sand card class. As soon as I saw this stamp set, I fell absolutely in love with it and had to have it. So these are very simple cards, but gorgeous. Now I did add a little bit of shimmer on top of those, as you can see. And I have different, oh, my thingy is going down here. Technical difficulties. So I did 2 with toffee background. Thinking of you, miss you. I did 2 with glacier background. Thinking of you and miss you. And then I did 2 with sapphire background, and I did both of those in hello. But you can do yours with any way you like. Now, I already started cutting this class just a few minutes ago and didn't hit record. So I have already cut my glacier. So we're going to cut all of the color and pattern paper the same, and we're going to cut it at 4 inches. So we got 6 cards laid out in front of me, 2 in each pile, because we're going to make 2 of each color. So you have a lot of leftovers in this. So we're going to cut it 4 inches, and we're going to set this to the side. This is your scrap. You can actually fit 4 more cards out of that. And we're going to turn this 4-inch piece short, and we're going to cut it at 5 1/4. And we're doing that twice. 5 1/4, 2 times. All right, and we're going to do that again with your toffee. So you are going to do this with all of your colored cardstock. All right, boom, got that. So now your white, your first strip of white is going to be at 3 3/4. So every time we cut down, we're going to cut one more increment, one more 1/4 inch shorter. So 3 3/4, which means we're going to turn it short and cut it at 5 twice. Now we are going to do this 6 times because we are doing 6 cards in all. And we're putting 2 of those on each of your card bases. All right, and so you have one more piece of white daisy. And this time we are going to cut at 3 1/2. So our first cut is at 3 1/2. Remember, every time we're going down a 1/4 inch increment, and we're going to turn it short and cut it at 4 3/4 twice. And we're doing that 6 times. So it's 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. So 3 1/2 once again by 3 3/4, and we're doing that twice. All right, so guess what? That's all the cutting you need to do. All of this is scraps. And you are done with cutting. So now we get to move on to stamping. Now I will say I'm gonna run and get some scratch paper real quick for some practice runs. So I've just got a regular little piece of notebook paper, and we're going to pull that out for a practice run. So here is what I found was the easiest to do. Where's my set? So let me get my squishy mat real quick. always use a Versamat while I'm working. One side has your grids on there, so if you need to measure to put things in the proper place, you can. The other side is squishy. And whenever we're doing stamping, you need squishy mats with our acrylic stamps. You need the squishies underneath of them for a nice firm image. So we are going to start at the bottom with our toffee. So this is why I want you to practice a few times, because you do kind of have to visually get the hang before you put it on your paper that's going on your card. I want you to visually figure out exactly how this goes. Now I don't want to stick my head in there too much, but your toffee, you want to put it at the bottom of your paper as far down as you can get it. Okay, and then you are going to put your Okay, so let me show you what's going on here. Can you see in this stamp how it has different textures? So we've got the surf right here, how it's a lot more texture in it. And then you've got a little less right in here and then a little more here. So that's kind of where I choose my colors. Now I pulled out a bunch of different colors. I like the sapphire, the bluebird, and the glacier. All felt like Tahiti kind of water to me. So mine, I've actually done different ones. I've done some with lagoon and glacier. So play with your different blues and see how you like them. So here is how I did it. So I start off with my glacier so I'm over here at the surf. So I always want the lightest at the surf. So I'm gonna rub my glacier right here, kind of like at the surf, and I'm building from light to dark. So it doesn't matter if my light color goes over top of this a little bit, because we're going to be building color on top of it and we want a nice blend. So you want to make sure you get that inked up really well at the front, at the bottom in your surf. So now I'm moving on to my bluebird, and I'm going to make sure that I'm stamping into the surf a little bit. And then I'm going to move on to sapphire. And I'm coming right over top and I'm stamping that sapphire at the top portion so that it looks like my ocean is getting lighter as I go, or darker as I go. Now in this case, I feel like there's a little bit too much of a color difference between that bluebird and that glacier. So I'm going to really carefully just go back in with that glacier and tap that up just a little bit, just so it blends those two colors in. All right, so now that I've got that done, now since I've been talking to you and it's taken me a while to do it, we're gonna huff it. Given that moisture, when we huff it, I know it sounds like I'm doing drugs over here, but when you huff that, it re-moistens the ink so it stamps correctly. So I'm gonna huff it and then I'm gonna turn it over and kind of like, you can see where this point is, where it snugs into this point right here on your paper. So here we go. All right, so sorry for putting my head in. Again, I'm trying to make sure I get it as close as I can. And I'm gonna stamp that down and let that sit for a good 3 seconds. Yep. So that's my practice run. Now, again, this is my practice run. So now, if I want this even softer, this is where I'm going to bring this shimmer brush in. Now I want it to dry just a little bit more before I go for it, but I'm going to use that shimmer brush and I'm just going to blend those colors in just a little, putting that shimmer brush over top. Oh, too much, way too much. See, there's your learning lesson on not squeezing it out over your project. Good thing it's my scratch piece. But yeah, so putting that shimmer brush over top of that kind of will blend the colors even more. So the last thing we have to do is add your sentiment. So let's just say we're going to do hello here just because. Now the sand on this is a much, like when you think about a TV, how many so this is more pixelated, right? So whereas this one is a much tighter stamp. So even going over top of it with these same two colors, that hello is going to be much darker. Even though it's the same two colors, that hello is much darker because it's got a stronger line on the inks. So you can choose a lighter brown and a darker brown if you want yours to pop even more. And then the last thing I'm going to do is put a little couple of starfish down, because you need starfish at the beach. All right, so there we go. So now we can do that with all 6 of our cards. So Kathy's excited, I can tell. I see the look on her face. All right, so let me put this in the trash since I completely mutilated that. All right, so once again, my bottom, I'm starting with toffee. Now here's the other thing you can do. If you want to stamp off and have a much lighter shade of this, do second generation. And so I'm just going to stamp off again on this scratch piece of paper. There's my first generation. And there's my second generation. So that's going to give me a much lighter sand. So you want white sand? You like a really light sand beach? You can do that. I prefer it a little bit darker than that though. And then add my hello and first generation. Okay, now we're going to do my inks again. So once again, I'm going to do Glacier on the bottom. Let me go get, oh, I have Lagoon right here. So we're going to do Glacier, and then I'm going to move on this time to Lagoon. Just so you can see the color difference in what we've got going on. Now, I always used sapphire at the end, just because when you look at the ocean, when you go all the way out to the back of the ocean, to the deep, it's always going to be much darker. Okay, so that blend, you can see that that blend looks better with Lagoon. But just in case, I'm just going to tap off, just like I did before, I'm just going to tap into that just a tiny bit, just for that little bit of blend. Huff and puff and put my stamp down. So again, sorry for my head. Now, if you notice, I did cut the paper down just a little bit smaller than the stamp. Okay, I'm going to pass these over to Kathy because she's going to have some fun now doing her one-handed stamping. And even because they're kind of sticky, you can even pick that up and rub it to get even more. Oh, I just love. Now, and you can see that's overlapped just a little bit. But like, I'm looking at that. No one that gets this card from you would ever notice that and look at that. Okay, so the last thing that I did do, because this is layered on top of a larger piece with foam tape, which is layered on top of our colored cardstock, which is layered on top of our card. So this, because of all the negative space in this stamp, I felt like when I put it on top of the white, it got lost. So what I did, and I really am happy with the way it turned out, is I'll take the Lagoon, I'm going to take the middle color, is I did direct die stamping, direct edge stamping. So this is on Glacier. You know what? Nope, we're going to make it pop with some sapphire. So right on the edge, I just take my ink just like this and go around that edge. Being careful not to angle it too much so I don't get ink on top of my piece. So now notice the difference when I put that on top of that white. You got to be careful because you probably, since that ink is on there so much stronger, you can transfer that ink to your fingers. So can you see the difference in how that looks against that white on white, it makes that pop off of the card a little bit more. So that's it. So that's 6 cards that you're going to make with that incredible stamp set. I just love it. And the technique of blending the 3 colors, I think is just, it just turns out beautiful. I just love how, like this one, I believe I used the bluebird as the back of that one, the lagoon and the glacier. So yeah, I just love doing these. It was so much fun, and I hope you enjoyed it and will try it. Again, these kits are $29, and that includes everything you need plus the stamp. So as long as I can still order these stamps, I can still get you more of these kits. So if you would like to partake, just let me know. I will get you a kit cut. I can even pre-cut it for you. It's $29 for everything that you need, except for that does not include our shimmer brush. So that's the only thing it does not include, and your inks. So anyway, all right. So I'm out. Y'all have a blessed day, and I will see you later.